What is up, guys? James here from the Light of Riga YouTube channel, and today I'd like to share a spread with you that I picked up along the way. I'm not 100% sure where I got this spread. I think it was from the Eclectic Tarot website, and if I can find it again, I will put it in the description, a link to it, but I can't be 100% sure where this spread came from, but it is an excellent spread. It's a very unique spread because we're going to be using our deck to tell us about our deck. It's going to be interesting. So this is the new deck spread, and whenever you get a new tarot deck, there's always a learning period when you get to know the deck, and it's very good to ask the deck about itself and what are its characteristics, what are its strengths, what are its weaknesses, how you can work with the deck, and this spread is going to tell us all of those things. So let me use this Thelema Tarot. I always have trouble saying that. I don't know if it's Thelema or Thelema. Maybe someone in the comment section could illuminate me on that subject. But I'm going to use the Thelema Tarot to see what kind of deck this is. This is a relatively new deck in my collection. I've done less than 50 reads with it. So I'm not 100% sure what the energies of this deck are. So I'm going to ask itself what it wants to tell me. It's weird. It's like some sort of Inception thing. Anyway, it's alright. It's gonna illuminate this situation for us. So let me just do an example spread, and let me ask the question: what are the energies of this Thelema Tarot deck? I should really decide how I want to pronounce it. Thelema. We're gonna go with Thelema. Alright, we're going to cut the deck. Alright, this is how it's going to be laid out. This is a 5-card spread. Start with card number 1. Card number 2. See if I can fit that. There we go. I don't think they're all going to fit. Card number 3. Card number 4. And card number 5. I have to cover that up a little bit, but that's okay. So let's look at the spread here. This is card number 1. And this card tells us the deck's most important characteristic. And we have the 8 of Pentacles. So I get the feeling that this deck is going to be a workhorse. It's going to be one of those decks where, and this is true, I already know this, like logically speaking, this deck is going to be one of those decks that you can depend on to give you a solid reading every time. And this is going to be a workhorse deck that I'm going to use a lot. I think the imagery is very simple to grasp, and so even the querent, even the person sitting for this deck is going to be able to understand a lot of the meaning from this deck just by looking at the cards. So I think this is a workhorse deck is what this is telling me, and that is the most important characteristic of it. It's something that is widely accessible to a large percentage of people. So this is a workhorse deck, is going to get the job done. Very good. Okay, the second card down here is what I can do, or you can do if you're doing this spread, to learn from this deck. And we have the King of Wands. I think this is saying that this deck is so dependable that it should give you it should give the reader confidence and be able to instill a leadership type energy into the reader. So I think I can learn from this deck's solidness to be confident in my abilities and to really put my energy out there and be willing to read for anyone who comes along, giving me the confidence to read, because with this deck it's so cut and dry, it's so dependable that it's gonna raise my level of confidence when it comes to tarot, so that I should feel like I can read for anybody, for any question. There's no doubt, there's no self doubting of any kind involved. So I think that's what this deck is telling me I can learn from. Number 3, we have the deck strengths, and we have the Page of Swords. I get the sense that this deck is a good communicator. This deck is going to tell you the answer bluntly. It's not going to hold back any punches. The Page of Swords is someone who is a communicator, but they're not really, they're not a mature communicator. They're just going to say everything. Think of a kid. Think of a child who's like telling you all the things that there's no filter. You know what I'm saying? Children have no filter sometimes, and that's what I get from this deck. That this deck has no filter. It's just going to say everything, okay? And it's not going to worry about how you're going to take it. It's just going to tell you the blunt and honest truth. So I get that as the strength of this deck. Number 4 over here are the deck's weaknesses. And we have the Page of Pentacles. 2 pages here. That's interesting. Focus. Focus. Are you going to be able to focus? I don't think the camera's focused in. Come on, camera. Well, let's put it down and then pick it up again. There we go. Okay, so the Page of Pentacles is saying to me that the weaknesses of this deck are that it's a little hasty. It's a little that's not exactly. Let me sit with this card for a second. I'm getting the sense of immaturity. I'm getting the sense of it might not say the whole story. It might stick to kind of earthly matters. Maybe this deck doesn't No, I'm getting the opposite. Okay, this deck is more ethereal. I get the sense that the information that one gets from this deck is going to be more spiritual and less grounded, is what I'm getting from this. It's not going to be a deck where you're going to read it and you're going to say, oh, I have to do such and such and such in the physical world to get things changed. This is more going to be like, oh, that's the problem within me that is causing these outward reflections, right? So I get the sense that this is more airy deck. This is a deck that's not going to give you practical physical advice as much as other decks will. Is the weakness I'm getting from this. So it's not a well-rounded deck in that respect. It's more airy-fairy, if that makes sense, than physically grounded. And the last card here, number 5, is where will this relationship go? And we have the King of Swords. I'm getting the feeling that this deck is going to enable me to be a better communicator. I'm going to be able to better express my thoughts. I'm going to be more focused on expressing thoughts because of this deck. And this deck is going to help me to become a better tarot reader in the communicative sense, because it's going to allow me to think in more airy ways. Like I said, this is a deck that deals a lot with spirituality and less physical groundedness. So I get the sense that this deck is going to help me to communicate those spiritual ideas in a very mature, elegant manner. So I think this deck is going to help me to be a better communicator when it comes to tarot. Is the sense I'm getting. Very nice. So this deck is not exactly it's a workhorse, and it's got some great communicative abilities. It's going to help me to be more confident and be more communicative, but it's not going to give me exactly what I'm looking for in terms of maybe future predictions or just really tangible things. It's going to be more a spiritual type deck, is the sense I'm getting from this. So that is the new deck spread. I hope you guys can take something from this. You can put it in your tarot journals, as I have done. And again, I'll try to find the link to this and put it in the description to give the spread creator credit. And I think it's a lovely deck, or spread, excuse me. It's using itself to tell you about itself. Isn't that just cool? Okay, so that's going to be the episode for today. Thank you for watching this, and I hope you got something out of it. Happy taroting. Peace.